Hello everyone and welcome to Staying Ahead of the Curve. I'm Jeff Snyder, Vice President, Senior Consultant with CAMAC Retirement Group, and I'm joined today by Matt Wamback and Andrew Russell from the University of Massachusetts. Guys, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
Oh, we're happy to be here.
And congratulations on your nomination for Plan Sponsor of the Year. Great work. I know you've been working hard over the last 24 months, and I think the audience is really going to be interested in all the work you've done these past 2 years to improve your plan. So I want to start, I think, first with you, Andrew. What led to this process? This is obviously a big undertaking, and I'm just wondering some of the rationale that you went through as a committee, as a group, to start this.
Yeah, I think a primary driver for us, we've actually been working on our supplemental retirement programs for years now. We actually have about 8 different supplemental retirement programs, 403B and 401A plans that the university administers and sponsors. Total, probably about $900 million in assets, and the largest of that plan is our voluntary 403B elective deferral savings plan. Probably has about 88–89% of those assets. Really a big focus for us in this change was really wanting to improve the plan in terms of administration, efficiency, effectiveness, provide greater benefits to our employees, really just help our employees to prepare for retirement. And so that was really our major motivation, was how can this be a tool for our employees in their retirement readiness.
Matt, in terms of the fiduciary process, can you kind of talk through, I think the audience would find it like a roadmap. We want to lay out a roadmap. So the steps you undertook as a group, as a committee, from a fiduciary perspective.
So really this whole roadmap started back in 2008. We did RFPs and we streamlined our products then. We had over 50 vendors. We streamlined it down to 6, 3 contract providers, 3 legacy providers. And then from there we started with an RFP 2–3 years ago. We hired CAMAC as our advisor, and we started the process then, and it's been a process since.
Yeah, in a big piece of that, when you talk about the fiduciary process, the university made a decision a few years ago that, although we are not subject to ERISA, we're a governmental plan, we started to really look at this very seriously and say, what should we be following as far as a guideline, as a best practice in terms of our fiduciary responsibilities for our supplemental retirement plans. And so prior to our decision to follow ERISA as a best practice, we really found we had to cobble together a lot of different laws, right? We had to look to state law. We had to look to certain statutes that were not specific to our supplemental plans, but specific to, for example, the Massachusetts State Retirement Plan, the Mass Uniform Trust Code, the Mass Prudent Investor Act. We had to look to these other laws, and all good laws, and they definitely provided a baseline for fiduciary action, but they weren't specific to us. They weren't specific to our supplemental retirement plans. And at that stage, we really decided that we needed to do a comprehensive fiduciary review. And so we reached out to outside counsel, and we had them take a look and help us to really identify, what is our fiduciary responsibility? And what we found through that process, again and again, even though we're not subject to it, ERISA kept coming up as, here is a model, here is a comprehensive source, if you will, something that's very relevant and practical to what we're doing. And it became clear to us that this was in the best interest of our plan, in the best interest of the university, in the best interest of our participants, to move in this direction and voluntarily elect to use ERISA as our guide.
So had you undertaken an RFP process up to this point?
We have. So this is our second one with our 403B plan. So as I mentioned, the first one's in 2008. And that definitely, we set ourselves up to where we are today. When we started doing our second one, we had the idea of, like Andrew was saying, streamline the process, better results for our participants, and to streamline the administration of the plans as well.
So streamlined administration, better tools, capabilities, better fees. Those were top of mind.
Absolutely. Fees were a big thing.
Fees matter.
Fees matter.
But it's about value, the value that the record keeper, the service provider or providers can deliver to the participants vis-a-vis through the tools and services. So end of day, end of result, 24 months in, highlight some of the real nice changes that you've underwent.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of different success stories within this project. You know, I think fees, absolutely one of them. You know, I think that this RFP process was very good for the university in terms of driving down participant, record keeping and administrative fees. We estimate, that our participants are going to have annual savings of around $400,000 just in the first year. That's going to grow as the assets grow. So that's been a major, plus for us. The other area, like you said, I mean, now that we've really restructured the way we're managing this plan, and we're taking under this new setup and this new platform where we're actually using Fidelity as the master administrator, we're able to really take full advantage of all those administrative resources and educational tools. Just as an example, we were doing all of the work in-house within the University of Massachusetts. Our staff were processing all withdrawals, loans, hardships, salary reduction, was all done manually. We were data entering all this stuff. Under this new structure and platform, we've really modernized our plan. And so we're now providing enough data, indicative data, to our providers that they can manage, these things. And that's improved, the response times for our participants. We now get feeds where online, people go online, they put in their deferral amounts, feeds come into our biweekly payrolls.
And for the first time, we can call this the university's plan. It's no longer the Fidelity plan and the TIA plan and the Valid plan. It is truly the university's 403B plan.
Right. So obviously the participants benefit, tools and services, lower fees. You free up your staff to do other things related to the plan. And as a firm, obviously this, but CAMAC, it's the fundamental elements of a plan, the plan design, the fees, the investments are clearly important. But now you have time to focus on the education and communication of plan participants. And I'm wondering if you could briefly discuss the communication of all these changes, because this is a sensitive topic. When you start making changes like this, people get concerned. How you mitigated some of that and some of the challenges you faced?
So we went live with the plan in May of 2016. In early February, we started drafting communications for union representatives. And so we sent communications with FAQs to those union heads. Shortly after that, we did a full full employee communication to all eligible employees. After that, early March, end of March, we did our transition guide mailing. And that transition guide hit all current employees, all eligible employees, and all former employees that had assets with former record keepers. Once the transition guide went out, we partnered with Fidelity. They held one-on-one sessions on all our campuses and our satellite locations. And they had group sessions from April until when we went live in May. At the end of April, we also did a follow-up, follow-up postcard. Hey, we're ready to go live. Make sure you make your changes and engage now.
Well, I was going to ask, kind of to that end, 24 months. I know it's only been 2 years or maybe a year since you actually implemented, but what's the data look like? What is the ultimate outcome that you've seen thus far in terms of streamline of administration, lower fees? What have participants done? What's the behavior?
Yeah, so I'd say that already we can see real positive results. I think one of the statistics I look at that really shows me that these changes meant something is if I look at 2016 calendar year and look at the number of participants we had compared to 2015, we had like close to a 5% increase in participation. That's significant given that we just started this program back in May and June. If I look back another year, if I compare 15 to 14, there was literally zero growth in the plan in terms of numbers of participants. So already our employees, our participants are recognizing the value of the changes. And I think that through this new plan design, we simplified things. We've made it easier for our employees to participate. We've put more educational tools out there so that they're more comfortable participating in the program.
And you've applied the principles of behavioral finance, simplified the number of investment options.
Absolutely.
That's key.
Yeah.
That's part of this, I'm assuming, as well.
That was a huge part of this. We went from over 500 investment choices to a streamlined menu of 24.
Wow.
So this was a major change for our employees. We also went, so it was, investments got streamlined, providers got streamlined. As Matt said, we were with 6. So we went down to this new arrangement that is truly a primary provider, Fidelity as our master, administrator, and then TIA as a secondary provider to allow for some in-house or in-plan annuities.
We talked offline about the roadmap, and part of any roadmap, you're going to hit bumps and hurdles, and I'm wondering, kind of looking back 24 months, looking back on the process, what are some of the takeaways? Our audience is made up of plan sponsors, people who are in similar situations to where you were, and what are some opportunities for best practices that takeaways that you might be able to offer?
I think one piece that we noticed from the get-go was our communications. So at the end, the transition guide was fully branded Fidelity. We should have definitely included UMass logos on that branding, because we had a lot of employees that didn't have Fidelity, dismissed the mailing, and when they received that postcard at the end of April, called us up and said, hey, what's going on with the plan? Where's my money going? I didn't get the transition guide. And so that was a big piece that we took away at the end, said, okay, so everything on go forward is going to be branded. The other piece that I think we started to notice was communications to retirees. That we could have provided simplified communications to them, or additional communications, because not all retirees, we don't know if they received a transition guide or if they truly understood what was happening to their assets in the plan.
Yeah, it's almost like retirees needed some separate messaging, to really help them to understand how this process impacted them. But I think the key takeaway for other institutions, other plan sponsors that are looking to make similar changes is, I can't stress enough the value of developing that roadmap that you talked about, developing a strategic plan. For us, that was essential. When we partnered with CAMAC as our consultant and then our financial advisor, that was the first thing we did, is developed a roadmap that led us to this point. So that's number one. I think develop that roadmap, figure out where it is you're trying to go, and identify all the various steps, communication being one huge one. But I think the other pieces that plan sponsors need to be thinking about to make it successful is think about the team you're going to assemble to do this. You really need a team that's well represented across your institution, that represents different disciplines of your institution as well, just so that you feel like you're, in our case, the University of Massachusetts with our investment committee is really well represented. And so I think that went a long way. The other thing I'd say too to anyone else looking to go down this road is, look to partner with experts. I mean, I think that was a key component of our success is, we knew what we wanted to do. We had a vision. We had, a pretty clear understanding of where we wanted to take this plan, but didn't necessarily know all the steps that we needed to take to get there. And so by partnering with, CAMAC as a financial advisor, it made a big difference. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of layers to managing a defined contribution plan, very different from a defined benefit plan. The web tools, the customer call center, the negotiation of fees. So, I completely agree, or we completely agree with you. Gentlemen, it sounds like you are on the path to greatness with respect to your retirement plan. We wish you the best for Plan Sponsor of the Year nomination, and hopefully we can have you back on the show at some point in the very near future to get an update.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Great, thank you.